by the crazy-ass transgender movement. Stephanie White's afraid. She's not a dumb girl. And she has to know at her little high school in rural Indiana with about 500-600 kids, nobody would have ever heard of Stephanie White, the All-American, the Purdue player, Miss Basketball, if boys were allowed to play with her.
That's a fact. Oh, my God. He is cook. Yo, Dan Dakich, you are cooking with fish grease. Stir the pot. Stir the pot. Keep cooking, Dan. Keep cooking.
Are we here to watch basketball? Or are we here to watch a never-ending political and media circus? That is the exact question every single true fan of the WNBA is asking themselves right now. What is happening to Caitlin Clark has officially crossed the line from standard sports journalism into an absolute, unhinged media witch hunt. Imagine this scenario for a second. You have a 22-year-old rookie who is literally rewriting the history books, breaking records that veterans could only dream of, and instead of asking her about her court vision, her elite passing, or her historical triple-doubles, she is being hunted down in the locker room and ambushed with questions about a culture war she never asked to be a part of. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most explosive controversies to hit women's basketball in years. Caitlin Clark is under major fire. And why? Simply because she chose to stay silent. Her silence is making the mainstream media lose their absolute minds. And on the flip side, we have sports media veteran Dan Dakich dropping a nuclear bomb on Connecticut Sun head coach Stephanie White, calling her out for lacking integrity, lacking character, and being terrified of the woke mob. What is really happening behind closed doors? Why is the media so desperate to drag the face of the league into the mud? Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on notifications, because we are not holding anything back today. Let us start at ground zero, which is the basketball court, because at the end of the day, that is the only place Caitlin Clark should be judged. Real basketball heads know that performance is everything. We are talking about a player who is operating in a completely different stratosphere. Just to put things into perspective for you guys, when star guard Olivia Miles turned heads and held the record as the fastest player to reach 500 points and 150 assists, people thought that was elite. But Caitlin Clark? She blew that out of the water, cementing her legacy as the fastest player in the history of the league to reach 1,000 points and 500 assists. It is not even close. She is a generational talent who is single-handedly responsible for the massive ratings boom, the sold-out arenas, and the private flights the league is now enjoying. But does the media want to talk about her elite pick-and-roll reads? Do they want to talk about how she manipulates defensive coverages? Absolutely not. They want to drag her, kicking and screaming, into the deeply polarized debate about biological men competing in women's sports.
We got to go here. Okay, and because this is why people are mad now. Caitlin Clark, she does not care. Why is she not speaking up to this? Jemele Hill, why does Caitlin Clark not talk about this? She needs to be held accountable too. Caitlin Clark should have to talk about this. You know how some of these goofballs are. They just want to drag Caitlin Clark into everything, okay? And this is what Jemele Hill had to say. We'll start with her first. Caitlin Clark should not have to answer to something her teammates said. That said, if she is...
As you just saw, media personalities like Jemele Hill genuinely believe that Caitlin Clark owes them an answer. They are trying to mandate that this young woman become a political spokesperson. Let me ask you a very simple question. When did signing a WNBA contract mean you also signed away your right to just be an athlete? Jemele Hill argues that reporters have the right to ask the question, and if Clark says no comment, then so be it. But we all know the game they are playing. They do not care about her honest opinion. They are setting a trap. They are desperately fishing for a 10-second soundbite that they can weaponize on Twitter and national television to generate millions of clicks at the expense of her mental peace and her basketball focus. The situation has gotten so incredibly toxic that WNBA front offices and public relations teams are now operating in a state of sheer panic. Let us look at what happened during the game where Caitlin Clark secured the 4th triple-double of her career. A rookie getting 4 triple-doubles is an astronomical achievement. It should have been the lead story on every single sports network in the country. but what actually happened post-game.
Comment: Caitlin Clark was not made available to the media after her triple-double as White's comments went viral during the game. It's the second time in as many games Clark has not talked to media when a Save Women's Sports rally is held outside the arena. So they're mad that Caitlin Clark isn't speaking because they want some sort of clip and engagement. And that's just that. Here it says Caitlin Clark kept from reporters despite triple-double night as coach goes viral for women's sports comments. And we're going to get to Dan Dakich after this because he absolutely...
You cannot make this stuff up, folks. The Indiana Fever organization had to literally hide their franchise player. They kept Caitlin Clark away from the press conference after a historic performance, specifically to protect her from reporters who were sent there with one mission: to interrogate her about a Save Women's Sports protest happening outside the arena, and to ask her about comments made by Phoenix Mercury guard Sophie Cunningham. Clark leaves it all on the floor, leads her team to their 5th straight victory, absolutely dismantles the Portland Fire defense, and her reward is being hidden in the back rooms because sports journalism has devolved into political trapping. Her teammates, who did face the media, had to run for the hills the second the reporter tried to bait them. Is this what we want sports media to be? Have reporters abandoned analyzing the pick and roll to become amateur political interrogators? But here is where the story gets crazy. While Caitlin Clark brilliantly chose the path of silence, and while the Fever protected their star, Connecticut Sun head coach Stephanie White walked right into the trap. White gave a highly diplomatic non-answer about the transgender athlete debate, and that is when Dan Dakich entered the chat. Dakich did not just criticize White, he absolutely eviscerated her on a deeply personal and professional level.
Off on Stephanie White's response to the question about should a biological male be able to play in the WNBA.
When did it happen? When did being gay get overtaken by the whole transgender thing?
That's a great question too. Aren't they two separate things? Like that is a really, really good question by Dan Dakich.
When did that happen? Stephanie White's gay. Good for her. Live your best life. Who cares? She's not strong.
Dan Dakich took absolutely no prisoners. He asked a question that a lot of people in the mainstream media are terrified to even whisper. When did this happen? When did one movement get completely hijacked by another? But Dakich did not stop at cultural commentary. He went straight for Stephanie White's character. He called her out for lacking strength. He called her out for lacking integrity. He stated point blank that she gave a weak answer because she is terrified of losing her job and terrified of the protest mob. This brings us to a massive underlying issue in the WNBA right now: the psychology of the coaches and executives. The people running these teams are living under the constant threat of cancel culture. They know that if they speak their true minds, if they say something that aligns with basic biology or the silent majority of the country, they could be fired by morning. Their careers, their livelihoods, and their reputations could be destroyed by a coordinated social media mob. Dakich completely understands this fear, but he absolutely refuses to give Stephanie White a pass for it. True leadership, especially in sports, requires the backbone to stand up for the very systems that allowed you to succeed in the first place. To hammer his point home, Dakich brought up Stephanie White's own history. And honestly, this is the most devastating, bulletproof argument of the entire controversy.
Integrity, she's fearful of her job, fearful of protest, by simply saying something that 80% of the country, and probably the world, probably 90% of the world, knows should be. Boys shouldn't play against girls.
I'm with you. I'm with Dan. I'm with Dan. I'm with Dan. But I see why they scared to get fired. They're not gonna come out and say it because they're scared to get fired. That's the truth. That's the truth. But I agree with Dan.
If she doesn't have enough.
Listen to the logic here. Dakich points out that 80, maybe 90% of the country and the world understands the basic reality that biological boys should not be competing against biological girls. It is a matter of physical reality, safety, and fairness. But the true knockout punch from Dakich was when he brought up Stephanie White's roots. For those who do not know, Stephanie White is an Indiana basketball legend. She grew up in a tiny, rural Indiana high school, a school with barely any students. From there, she dominated, became an All-American, won Indiana Miss Basketball, and secured a scholarship to Purdue University, where she won a national championship. She is WNBA royalty. But as Dakich brutally pointed out, none of that, literally 0% of that success, would have happened if she was forced to compete against teenage boys in her high school. If the rules being pushed by activists today were in place back in the 1990s in rural Indiana, nobody would know the name Stephanie White. She would not have won Miss Basketball. She would not have gotten that scholarship to Purdue. She would not have made it to the WNBA as a player, and she certainly would not be a highly paid head coach in the league today. She knows this. She is a highly intelligent woman. She knows that Title IX and the biological separation of sports are the only reasons she has her wealth, her fame, and her career. Yet, when asked to defend that very system to protect the next generation of young girls, she folded.
She's not stupid, although she's coming off very, very dumb. She has shown herself not to be a leader. She's shown herself to not protect her players. She's shown herself to, quite frankly, have a lack of integrity, a lack of confidence, and a lack of character. And that's sad because she's a nice little girl. She is. She's really nice. And people have given her great jobs. But damn, at some point, you got to stand up. And when this whole thing get hijacked?
That right there is the harsh, unfiltered reality. Dakich concluded that she lacks leadership, she lacks character, and most importantly, she has failed to protect her own players. He noted how sad it is because she is known as a genuinely good person who has been given great opportunities. But when the moment arrived for her to plant her feet and defend the integrity of women's sports, she hid behind a PR-approved statement out of fear of the woke mob. So, where does this leave us, the fans? We are watching a beautifully growing sport being held hostage by a toxic media environment. On one side, you have journalists acting in bad faith, desperate to turn a 22-year-old phenom like Caitlin Clark into a political pawn. They are furious that she is smart enough to dodge their traps and keep her focus on winning basketball games. On the other side, you have league leaders and coaches who are so paralyzed by fear that they refuse to defend the biological realities that made their league possible. There is only one way out of this mess. Every single coach, every single player, and every single executive needs to adopt the exact same media strategy. When they sit down at that microphone, the answer must be uniform. I am only here to talk about the game of basketball. Next question. No athlete, especially not someone carrying the weight of an entire league's financial future on her shoulders, like Caitlin Clark, should be forced to be a political activist. Their job is to put the ball in the hoop. Their job is to read the defense, execute the game plan, and entertain the millions of fans who paid good money to watch high-level competition. We do not tune in to hear their thoughts on complex socio-political issues. We tune in to watch them break records and make history. We need to protect the game, and more importantly, we need to protect the players from this unjustified, malicious media pressure. Let them play basketball. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. Do you think Caitlin Clark is making the right move by completely ignoring the media's bait? Do you agree with Dan Dakich's brutal assessment of Stephanie White? Or do you think coaches have the right to stay quiet to protect their jobs? Drop your thoughts below. I will be in the comments reading and replying to your takes. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this video with anyone who loves the real game of basketball. Keep the vision alive, and I will see you guys in the next video.